Hello, everybody. Welcome back to another Finest Friday. I am your main host, Dom of X, comicreleases.com, associate editor. Hope you guys are doing well. And of course, joining me once again, as he does every month, is my amazing friend from Clover Press. Of course, you probably saw him yesterday on the Very Fine Condition Evergreen Spider Man stream. And that is none other than Kurtis Finley. How are you doing, bud? I hope you're doing well.
I'm doing really well. Thank you very much. Yeah, it was a marathon stream yesterday, nearly 4 hours, and it took a lot. And I'm like, oh man, I gotta do another live stream the next morning. But I'm happy to be here. And hey, Dom,
Mm-hmm.
happy anniversary to us. This is our 1 year anniversary. Our first Finest Fridays was 1 year ago this week.
That's
So there we
crazy.
go. We made it.
What?
12 episodes.
On the day. You know what? Happy anniversary back to you, my friend. And I'm very glad that not only have we have gotten through a year of this, but all of the like hundreds of issues that we have read in that meantime to talk about on this show. I mean, I couldn't believe it when I came. I remember when I came up to you on that first text, I was like, man, is Kurtis going to say yes? Like, would he be down to, take an hour or two out of his life to, talk about DC? But here we are, and I'm very happy for that. Very happy for you guys, and hope you guys like the new background as well, because we are in a brand new wave of DC Finest that have come out and will come out. So, indeed, very big thank you for for you, Kurtis, and also everybody else who is here.
Yeah,
Um,
I am very thankful that you approached me about this idea as well, because what it's done is it's actually made me read every single one of these DC Finest. Um I am not I have to put time aside because these are thick
they
books.
are.
And I got through all three of these books today, and they're over 600 pages each. This month, I mean. And if I didn't have someone holding me accountable like this show, then I probably either wouldn't get all through all of them, or I just would have them on my shelf.
Mm-hmm.
Like I can't read the epics fast enough because there's more than three per month, and
Mm-hmm.
so like it's nearly impossible to get through all of them. But for the DC Finest, I can keep up right now, so that's great. And so the 1 year anniversary for DC Finest will be in November. That's when the first was released, and so we can have another little celebration then at that
Yes,
point too.
indeed. Lots of anniversaries to be had. I think we're just more so happy that DC is continuing to pump out and print out as many of these as possible, so that we could enjoy it. And not only just from one specific era, but every single era feels uniquely touched by them for so many different franchises. A couple of them even have three now. We're gonna have four, five, for some of these franchises coming up in the next year or by the next year during the summer. So it's just been amazing to see DC stick with something, and hopefully it will lead to more as well with the mapping. And I mean, one of them, it's an anthology series that we'll be able to talk about later, but I'm just so happy with the line. I'm happy with the reading. I'm just happy to experience myself more and more, and furnish myself more and more in all of these different genres and creators and all of the amazing art that we have on display.
Yep.
Uh,
Absolutely.
but let's go ahead and say hi to the folks before we get on with. I mean, we have a big slate to talk about today. Jason Mill 604 expecting Spectre and Red Skies in the mail today through the postal strike might delay it for me. Man, that sucks. Sorry to hear that,
Oh,
bud.
that's too bad. Yeah.
Gotta get it at some point. Matt H, good morning to you. Fired up to finally catch you guys live again for the first time in months. Hope you're both having a good day. You're doing well as well, Matt. Ultra Mega Nicola, okay. Hi, Dom. Hi, Kurtis. Hi, all. Happy Finest Friday. A Finest Friday indeed. Happy Friday. Green Front, hello, hello, hello. Karsten K, hello, everybody. Hey, everybody. Xbox by Degrees knows what's up because I feel like I don't say it at all. But yes, if you are here, be sure to hit that like button so that everybody can see the discussions. Also, tell everybody that to hang out with us on Fridays. David Sexton, hey everybody, got the day off so I get to hang out with y'all. Yay. I wish I had days off from school. MP, hello, the biggest Batman fan that I know. We have a lot of Batman to talk about soon, so I hope you're doing well. Logan Wayne says, hello to Dom Kurtis. And everyone in the chat, blame Dom for your new name, Kurtis. 1 year already. Congrats. Thank you, Matt H. Carson K. Hey, Dom and Kurtis. Hello to you. Partworks Comics Reader, hello as always. Hello all, only manage Hawkman and Finest this month, but both Mystery Theater Compendiums, Dr. Fate by DeMatteis, and a couple of Doctor Strange epics, so got some thickies in. That is a lot of big trade paperbacks. I don't know if I could, but that is a big one.
It's great. And Partworks Comics always does themed, every month he reads based on a theme.
Mm-hmm.
And so it looks like he's going for some more of the supernatural.
You got the magic
this
and
month.
the supernatural side for Partworks Comics Reader in that one. Jason Mill 604, congrats on 1 year, guys. Been great watching both of you. Well, we thank you that you're taking time out of your life to watch us. We really appreciate it. David Sexton, congrats on the anniversary, guys. Keep up the amazing content. Thank you for all your insight, and thank you for watching. Happy anniversary, guys. A year already. Holy crap. How congratulations, though, fellas, man. Yeah, it feels like, I think a year ago is when I actually started taking YouTube a little bit more seriously. And I just remember the growth that I had in a month, which I give Omar 95% of the credit. But I just hit 4,000 subscribers, let's say like a week ago.
Awesome.
So I want to thank you guys for hitting that sub button and watching all the videos. I do appreciate, even in my feels like limited time with just how busy I am every single week. Just got my Red Skies in yesterday from, once again, the adorable Brent Hogan. Can't wait to dive into it. Congrats on 1 year. Hi, everyone from Super Job. Congrats with the finest year in history. I like that. I like that adjective use, the finest. We appreciate it. Partworks Comics Reader says, heading to Destination Venus to pick up my Zoop printing of Who Killed Nessie tomorrow. Haven't checked out that shop before, so interested to see what their collected edition stock looks like. Have you read Who Killed Nessie, Curtis?
I love visiting new comic shops. It's always neat to see like where their focus is and what they put up front, and then the cool random things that you can find buried in the back.
Indeed, I agree. Jason Carpenter, good morning to you. Hello, Kurtis and Dom. Carson K and the DC Finest are coming out in addition to the Omnibuy and Compendia, even though there are more of those as well. I just got finished with this one not too long ago, which is the Batman 66 compendium, and I did not anticipate to enjoy it as much as I did. But here I am. Even in bits where, yes, it is exactly like the 66 show. I really like Jeff Parker's writing on it. It's got amazing art too. You got Joe Quinones, Jonathan Case, the All Reds, of course. Lots and lots of different artistic takes on Batman, but I really, really enjoyed it, and I did not anticipate coming in to say that about Batman 66. Arjun Jagad, good morning to you. Kurtis, I loved your picks on the Spider-Man Evergreen yesterday. I can't believe you were the only person who had anything Romita Sr.
I know, right? It was pretty wild that nobody picked anything Romita Sr. Because that is like one of the best eras of Spider-Man. However, unless you do just a Romita-centric book, it's hard to pick out a story, and that's kind of where we were going for, is trying to pick out these evergreen Spider-Man stories. And yeah, there's like, he did 1 or 2 part issues here and there, but there isn't the big standout, like, Steve Ditko had the Master Planner, and right after that, Jerry Conway had the death of Gwen Stacy. But what is the standout story? Like, you could do like a Kingpin saga or something like that, maybe, or but I think you just have to do it John Romita. So what I did was I tied it into Spider-Man Blue and made a Spider-Man Blue book, but included 10 issues of the Romita run that Spider-Man Blue takes place during. And so you had a nice big fat collection, which I think would be a really cool book.
Oh, for sure. I really love Bermuda Senior's run on Spidey, and the only reason that I read it was because of a public speaking class where I was forced to, well, not forced, but I decided to do mine on Spider-Man, and I read through all of it, and by golly, I wish I had read it sooner is my reaction. But yeah, so Ramita Senior is synonymous with Spider-Man. Yeah, kudos to Kurtis for being the only one. We should have had all 8 panelists with Ramita Senior featured somewhere. Heaven for readers, hell for readers' wallets. That is true for the books, and congratulations to 4K subscribers, and a thank you, Carson, for being one of them. I really do appreciate it. Magic theme, Hawkman's gimme for the first appearance as Zatanna, which is true. We do have that 8-page story bit in Hawkman #4 where she shows up for the first time. Should Zatanna by Dini get in by the end of the month, maybe some of the Titan Mandrake collections. Or sure indeed. Green Front, thank you. Thank you. I appreciate it. Carson K says, I've begun reading Red Skies. It's even better than I thought. Ultra Mega Niccolo, okay. Romita Sr.
Absolutely.
is Spider-Man for me.
Yes.
I
Yes, he is.
I completely agree. Lance J. McNair with a brand new profile picture looking spiffy. Greetings, Dom, Kurtis, and chat. Starting the DC Horror Volume today. Also, I'm with Kurtis. Romita Sr. made Spider-Man what into a lasting icon. I
Yep.
did.
He did.
I agree. Carson K, when can we expect an overview video about DC Finest Justice League of America: The Return? I am hoping within the next week because Omar is back, and I am going to be talking about him with the schedule at very fine conditions. So we shall have to see. Personally, I would have done ASM 39 through 50 plus annual #1 and Spectacular Magazine 2.
I mean, yeah, that's the way to do it. That's you got to do the whole stretch of Ramita right there. That's absolutely right.
Yes, indeed. I still have yet to own a DC Finest, but I keep debating on getting one or not. We got a billion to talk
Get off
about.
that fence, man. Get a DC Finest.
There are plenty of good ones to go around, and because there are only 2 in December, maybe Kurtis and I, to sort of fluff the time a bit for the end of the year, maybe we could do a what our top 3 or 5 picks are on which Finest you should get, because there are a good chunk of them that are incredibly reader friendly. So maybe perhaps we shall have to see there. The Logan Wayne, then we will get to the main bits. The fact that Kurtis was the only one who chose Ditko and Lee as a choice, and some people actually said no to it being Evergreen, is still blowing my mind. It is too.
What were they thinking? I know. It's like, how can you have an evergreen Spider-Man and not like those are essential issues. So, yeah, everybody has their own taste. And the nice thing about Spider-Man is that there's 60 years of history here, and everybody has their own era that is their own favorite. So, and not everybody, and I say this as well, I'm not the biggest Steve Ditko fan. So, if you don't like Ditko, then yeah, it's not something that you're going to vote on for an evergreen book. Um, Spider-Man's Ditko is some of it's great and some of it's not great. So I was able to make a collection out of the best issues that I think are there, and leave off some of the other ones, like the one where Spider-Man battles the robot brain or whatever it's called.
And speaking of characters with over 60 years of history, I mean, we have our first book at the forefront, which is none other than Batman Red Skies, the 3rd installment that we have for Batman in the DC Finest catalog. And, of course, the volume right before Batman Year 1 and 2. DC Finest trade paperback, and in this collects issues 388 to 400 for Batman, along with annual issue number 10, Detective Comics 554 through 567, along with a story by Roy Thomas in Secret Origins issue number 6. And I want to put this to mind because this was one that I had put on my list for a long time because this material has never been collected before, but it's been restored by the folks over at High Five with Brian Miller and a couple of others that are escaping my head, if I can get the names down. Michael Kelleher and Kellustration and Nick Lyons. So we have them to sort of thank for this fantastic, anyways, I think, rendition of all of the restoration on the colors and whatnot. But this is Batman by Doug Mensch right before and during the hits of Crisis on Infinite Earths. It is a farewell goodbye to Batman, or this specific version of Batman, before, of course, we get the reset. Although Batman, in tonally anyways, doesn't really achieve such a huge reset. I think you and I can agree, Kurtis, that it feels a lot like year one and year two, along with the Killing Joke and other stories. But man, I mean, you have everything from the soap opera between Bruce, Nocturna, Catwoman, and Vicky Vale, who's also thrown in, along with a new character that were introduced at the for the stories illustrated by Paul Galassi. You still have a Jason Todd running around, albeit not the post-crisis version of Jason Todd. You still have him going. You still have your Detective Caper bits. You've got Harvey Bullock, who is a main part of this book and one of the main supporting casts. But I mean, this book has everything. What do you think?
Wow, yeah. I mean, you hit the nail on the head there. It really does have everything. It's stretches from um this period. So here's the thing. I say this every episode. I am not a history DC history buff. I do not know very much. I know the general like talking points of DC history. So I didn't know what to expect going into this book. And based on the volume that comes after this, year one and year two, and I know that Crisis sparks a change in all of the titles across the board. I was expecting this one to be more like the um the Grant Davis issues that you see um in year one and year two, where it's more akin to the Silver Age. You have a very fun characters. Batman is smiling, everyone's saying chum and that kind of stuff, right? Because and I know now I know that that was an exception to everything else that was going on at the time. In fact, it kind of seems out of place that they were doing that at the time. And so this one is definitely more like the Max Allan Collins stuff that he was doing in that year one and year two book. And this is fantastic. It's really good book. Now, I love Doug Mensch, and I always have loved Doug Mensch. He's such a great writer, and I think that he really brings to the table the kind of the definitive Batman. He's moody, he's brooding, he's a detective, and he cares ultimately about the people he cares about. The weird thing in this book is that his relationship with Catwoman,
Mm.
because they are actually dating through this book and have a romantic relationship. And I guess I thought that that was something that was more of a modern thing. I didn't realize it stretched that far back. So, but yeah, Catwoman is reformed in this book, and she is part of the supporting cast, a regular player through these issues. Um, you don't need to know very much jumping into this book. I think the only thing you really need to know is that the Black Mask was taken out in like the issue or the issue,
Mm.
just a couple issues before this collection here, and so this is dealing with the aftermath of the Black Mask's organization kind of crumbling to bits, and so a lot of it is kind of one overarching story, which I also wasn't expecting from this era here. A lot of it involving a woman named Nocturna who has a history with Jason Todd. So a lot of this here is stuff that is lore that I just had no idea about and didn't realize. It's stuff that's not talked about. Jason's relationship with Nocturna, I had no idea. And so it was really cool learning about this and filling in those gaps. And and yeah, what a way to tell a story. I also really like Detective Bullock
Hmm.
throughout this book because I thought he actually played a really good, kind of competent role, but still retaining that Bullock that we know as being grumpy, being a little bit of a klutz, and just a little bit clueless. But he's still a competent detective. Like he's there for a reason. And his relationship with Jason, I thought was fantastic. The way that those two connect, I thought that was really, really good.
Oh, completely agreed on the Bullock. I mean, Bullock is an essential key character to a lot of these stories. You get to see the interconnected relationship that he not only has with Jason, but also with Batman. Some of the doubts that he has, like sometimes he actively throws a wrench. It feels like he's throwing a wrench into what Batman and Jim are doing to help Gotham City, where I feel like he's more reclusive in sort of the helping of helping Batman around with his crime solving. But I mean, we not only have that, it feels like you get introduced to all of a whole bunch of other characters as well. Like you have the Rogues Gallery of Flash, or the Rogues, coming in to Gotham City very early on, and you get to see how Batman deals with Flash's villains, which I also thought was really cool. We also, interestingly, because it's the 80s, we had I think every single comic series had these, but we had one specific issue with Jason dealing with drugs, because of course it's the 80s. And I find I found the way that Doug Mensch tackled it, anyways, I found it interesting. It's not the worst that I've read, but I was just still super surprised to see that all in some plays as well. But man, like, I think if I had to pick one of my favorite stories from this book, it would have to be the annual, which is drawn by Dennis Council, written by Doug Mensch, which relates around Hugo Strange and just him, because he knows who Bruce is and his identity as Batman. He finds ways to ruin his life in other aspects, whereas some other villains might not be. And it all has to tie back with Jason and his status at going to school. And Bruce's life starts to crumble apart because in part of Hugo Strange. And I found that incredibly captivating, and something that, as somebody who likes Hugo Strange from the Batman Arkham City game, at least first anyways, I found that really, really satisfying to read through. It's very hard for me to pick any bones with this specific DC Finest collection, because a lot of it just has a lot of Batman stuff that I like. Even if it might not be my favorite, I still find it all incredibly well done. And it literally goes from one section to another in terms of the way that it elevates its supporting characters, to the soap opera, to the heroics and detective work. So yeah, kudos to Doug Mensch, Paul Gulacy, Tom Mandrake, who I was very surprised to see on here in the pages of Detective, and Gene Colan too. So yeah, big kudos to all of them.
Yeah. So speaking of the artwork there, really, really great artists all on here. Tom Mandrake, as you mentioned, is on the detective issues, and he is so solid. He's got such a detailed style, and some of these issues he inks himself, and some of these issues are inked by other people, and they're very, very different depending on who is inking his work. And but it's all really, really great, and it gives Batman that dark, moody feel. He's there. Every artist on here is excellent at that kind of noir aspect to it. And high praise, as always, to Gene Colan,
Mm-hmm.
who is a superstar illustrator and does some incredible work in this book. And what I really like in this book, through his artwork, is not just the moodiness that he brings to Batman, which we know he's good at because of his work on things like Tomb of Dracula, but his work on the the daily life of Jason Todd, because this goes into a little bit of soap opera with Jason as he meets a girl at his school that he
Mm-hmm.
enrolls in, and falls in love with her. And um, Gene Colan did a book in the 80s with Don McGregor called Ragamuffins. And it's just a slice of life comic about growing up in the 1950s. And it has and what Gene brings to the table is a very like Midwest style, very calm, very relaxing, very like this is just easing yourself into the environment of of the story. And I got that same feeling reading these issues with Jason Todd going through this kind of courtship with this girl, and it had that same feeling, and it's just really really good. He brings to the table such an air of realism in the way he presents everything, even the most fantastic things. um it's just really great. That annual that you said, the Hugo Strange annual, I really like that too. Definitely one of the standouts. One of my favorite episodes of Batman the Animated Series is called Over the Edge, where Batman, his life is like just falling to pieces, and it has a very similar twist to in this book here, and it's just such a good episode, and this issue was such a
Mm.
good issue as well. The other one I really was surprised at is actually the last issue in this book by Harlan Ellison, famous author who passed away recently. And so he, of course, is a big comic fan and wrote some comics, not very much, because he was working on his novels most of the time. But he did one issue in this collection at the very end, and it's really good. It's kind of humorous. It's a very different type of book. What I was surprised with that one is that there is very few words and no dialogue. And I thought this guy being a novel writer, a novelist, is going to like really load in the prose and be flowery like that. But no, he actually decided I'm going to let the art tell the story for the most part, very minimal dialogue, and it worked really well. So good job to him on that. Yeah, I mean, we could go on and on about this. This is this is so great,
It's
and
good
I don't
stuff.
know. Yeah, what else do we say about it?
Do you prefer Catwoman's pre-crisis or Jim Balent outfit?
Man, that's a hard question. The um I find that her pre-crisis outfit is kind of cheesy, but her 90s outfit is cheesy in a very different way.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know what I prefer.
I
They're
think what
both not that great, I think. She doesn't really get a good costume, I think, until the Darwin Cook
yeah.
reboot there.
It's really hard for me to pass up on the the Darwin Cook suit. I was reading through the Absolute Batman Haunted Night. They have like a little forward. It's by who was it by? I think it was by Archie Goodwin. And Archie Goodwin wrote in the forward that Tim Sale wanted to use the Darwin Cook outfit in the Catwoman When in Rome storyline, but because of like the timeline and just how DC continuity works, I suppose, DC editorial said no, and that he had to use the a different outfit for that specific story. Um, I don't know how I just feel about like with her like running around with the cape. I suppose that like it works like okay like if you're actually going to help people now, which she does in the book, that makes sense. Like oh superhero with a cape, okay that makes sense enough for me. But I just don't find it practical. Like if you're stealing stuff or like if you're going into buildings and trying to do undercover work, it makes in my head it doesn't make sense for me for her to be wearing that. So in terms of practicality, the Jim Balent one probably suits better, but I have my
But
issues
do
with
you say the same thing about Batman's cape?
okay, you have a good point there. But, Batman, I'm used to seeing Batman with a cape. Like, he doesn't have like, it's very rare that when he doesn't have one. So I think
Right.
that's where I'm
But
going
if
with.
you're talking about practicality, it's like Batman and
Hmm.
Robin, they
Hmm.
both have capes. All three of the main characters in this book are
Right.
wearing capes, but you can't just call out Catwoman for being impractical when they're all doing it.
Okay, that's fair enough. I think it's because, playing the Batman Arkham games and you can actually, like, the cape moves around and, it stuns people when you hit. I don't know. Um, maybe I should retract my
Yeah,
practicality
yeah. Dig
bits for
yourself
that.
out of that hole,
I'm
Don.
gonna dig myself out. That's strike five for me. Um, but yes, you guys should pick up this book. It's really good. It's got the Night Slayer. It's got Nocturna. It's got Green Arrow and Black Canary for a bit there.
Yeah.
I really like that Green Arrow issue too, where him and Bruce just talk about superhero ethics and what makes them different, which
Yeah,
I
that was
find
very
really
cool.
cool. Like sort of the Oliver Queen, obviously being Robin Hood, and then of course Bruce Wayne being, hey, like I got a lot of money and I fight crime, but you know what else can you use it for? I found that really really interesting for Mensch to seek
And
on.
the anniversary issue at the
Yes,
very end here, what is it, issue 400
400.
or
Yep.
yeah, 400. What a way to do an anniversary issue. Like I think people who were collecting at the time were not disappointed because you got a 64-page issue and you brought on a host of superstar artists to do one chapter of this like 15 or
Mm-hmm.
16 chapter story. So each one only gets like, 4 pages or something, but that doesn't matter because you're cramming them all in there. And great story. It's kind of like Hush before Hush was a thing where all of the villains kind of come together and have their moment to shine and stuff. And it's just like, this is so cool.
I
Very,
agree.
very fun.
There are moments in it where I actually do prefer it over Batman Hush, as weird as it may seem to be. But it was very fun, for sure. And for new people who are also coming in too, they also have a couple of issues. Like we have one specific issue where Batman and Jason just go through all of the rogues gallery on the Bat computer, and even though it
Yeah.
doesn't really add much to the overall narrative. Like if you don't know who any of these characters are, you're gonna get sped up, and you get a couple of issues like that in here too. So there's really something in it for everybody. That I think if you love great art, if you want to get Gene Cole and Paul Galassi and Tom Mandrake doing really really awesome work. Um, throw in Dennis Cowan on the annual, and it's a hit. It's a hit. It's a home run. You have great character work, like we mentioned earlier. Yeah, I don't know what else to say that's sort of non spoilery if in any of this case, but yeah, I've really enjoyed all the Batman trade paperbacks that I have read through, and I want I think unfortunately we have DC um, going the classic route with the Golden Age next. I believe in
Right. But
January.
then quickly after that, we're gonna get Death in the Family,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Yep, and then the one after
So
yeah, and the one after that is the one after that.
yeah. Yeah, yeah. So the fact that we have these three Batman volumes in a row now, Red Skies, Year One and Year Two, and The Killing Joke, it's like these are three solid books representing a massively good time for Batman. Just wow. I'm super impressed.
Indeed, Jim Starlin, Doug Mensch, Frank Miller, Max Allen Collins, Mike W. Barr. I mean, Alan Grant. Like, who can say no to all of that? But let's go ahead and yeah, catch up with the chat to talk about um, well, all of these stories. Let's see. Does Batman already have the most amount of DC finest dedicated to him? I think by yeah, we will have 6 by the end of next summer, which would be the most if my brain can math correctly. I know Superman will have
Yes,
5. Wonder Woman I think is going
Superman
to
will
get
have
6
five.
by the end of the summer too.
Really? Wow.
Yeah, cuz we have the follow up to Origins and Omens, or the modern one that's coming out. We
Right.
have the origin of Wonder Woman with the first issues from
With the
Sensation
follow up
Comics,
there.
and then the Cheetah DC Finest as well. So that's oh wait,
It's
hold on,
four.
it's 4.
And
Okay,
then the
maybe I
return
counted
of
wrong.
or the Trials of Wonder Woman, that's
Try.
five.
Mm-hmm. Maybe I miscut.
I
Yeah,
think it's just five.
it's just 5. Dang it! Really want Wonder Woman to have the 6. Gosh, dang it. We need better. I don't know. I wanted equality amongst the Trinity, but I suppose that Superman and Wonder Woman only have 5. Okay, Batman does have 6. Okay, I can't count. I think we maybe we established that today. Now we need the one before that, where Batman encounters Jason and Nocturna for the first time. That would be good. I would read that in a heartbeat.
Yeah. Yeah,
Um,
if we can keep going backwards, I'd be fine with that.
hmm. Yeah, Ultra Mega Niccolo OK says, got to say I've enjoyed Red Skies more and more as it progressed. The Sky story was meant for me, but I really like the Batman as James Bond story. That one was good.
Yeah,
Uh,
so the Red Skies is that's a reference to Crisis,
yes.
right?
Mm-hmm.
So they never really explain that in the book.
No.
It's just and everyone's like, "Whoa, the red sky, the end of the world's coming," and then it just kind of goes away, and they don't talk about it. So if you have never read Crisis, doesn't matter. These books, these issues don't tie into that story really at all.
Yeah, they're like, hey guys. I mean, the skies are incredibly red for like 3 issues of Detective and Batman, and that's it. We get Red Rain.
Yeah.
Cool
And
red.
meanwhile, they're dealing with the Nocturna stuff.
Yep. Yes, indeed. Um, and by the point of the Film Freak and Two Face stories, I was loving it. Those are really enjoyable stories
Yeah,
too.
those are super good ones.
I agree. Looking forward to Mark Waid's new history book when it is collected. I did read issue 3 a week ago. I have thoughts on it, but they will not come out until issue number 4 comes out. Let's see. Doug Mensch was great on Moon Knight in that first Epic Collection too.
Yep, he sure was.
He definitely is. Hashim did a Nocturna and Night Thief volume. That's the material just before this. Bit varied in the restoration depending on if a given issue had been collected previously, but good stories. Let's see. Batman and Catwoman are kind of like Hawkgirl and Hawkman, or mostly are, finding each other in each new incarnations. The Golden Age versions had been married.
Really?
Yes,
Okay.
yeah, they
Wow.
are. Yeah, they're a weird couple, but everybody still likes them together. MP, the Batman man. We often view Crisis, Dark Knight Returns, and Year One as a major dividing line in Batman's history, but I think that's kind of a distortion based on how we periodize the character's history.
Yeah, there really is like the tone and everything in this book is very much the same as what you get in year one and year two, outside of those miniseries.
Mhm.
Because year one, the actual miniseries is an exception. Killing Joke is also an exception to everything else that was going on during that time. The rest of the era feels very much like what we have in this book here.
Oh, it definitely is for sure. Because yeah, I mean, I could read Batman, 393, and then jump to Detective Comics like 572. There's little to no difference in terms of how they feel. And I think that's just sort of the main thing. Like when people, like we view, like Superman and Wonder Woman being like the split because of course those got relaunches and those got, brand new status quos and whatnot. I mean, we just get edits with Batman's history, but the tone doesn't shift at all from this book on to the next. So I do think that there is they should all, like, people should always reference that when they talk, I think, about Batman history. Um, the Flash rogues prefer Batman because he takes much longer to beat them, hours instead of seconds. Oh man, that is true indeed. No judgment here, either way here, but I have to say that in the Film Freak story in particular, I get why some folks ended up voting to kill off Jason Todd a couple of years later.
Yeah, he was kind of a jealous guy.
Yeah, he's definitely got he isn't straight in the head. I think that's the way I'll put it. Yeah, Brent Hogan says the stakes do not have to be the end of Gotham or the death of a character in order to be a good Batman story.
Yep.
I fully agree
That's
with that.
absolutely true. And that goes for every single superhero, even like Justice League. You don't have to have an otherworldly story taking them into space or another dimension or whatever to be a good story. Like and case in point, one of the best stories in here is the Harlan Ellison story where literally Batman doesn't get to solve anything or help anybody. Like that was great.
Hmm. Yeah, not everything needs to be like, oh my goodness, like he has to fight Darkseid. I'm not saying that those stories can't be bad, but it doesn't need to be the precursor for your book to be successful. Yeah, that's why I enjoy these finest so much. Just good stories. They really, really are. When we have more DC Finest Batman volumes out, it would be interesting to read a decade either side of Crisis from Englehart to Cataclysm and see how similar or different Batman is.
Yeah, yeah. Like just in terms of his personality or the things that he does. It would be different for sure. After Cataclysm, like we're past the movie era and
Mhm.
everything like that. So and that really affects the way that Batman was portrayed. And then Englehart is before all of that. So it's still in the almost in the Super Friends era.
Yes, indeed. So we get. Hey, sometimes you will get cheesy Adam West Batman. Like if you were reading a Silver Age book, I think you'd very much get something akin to that. But I mean, by this point, you had Dennis O'Neil pretty much changing the course and trajectory of the character. And yeah, we will get to Dark Knight Returns at some point. I need Rackamuffins immediately from James Moore, 1278.
That's not too, I think it's just one issue actually, and it's not too hard to find. You could probably find it online pretty easily,
Mm-hmm.
but it's really great. The all of it is some of it's in color. Um, I have to remember because Ragamuffins was originally serialized in a magazine called Eclipse Monthly, and or no, Eclipse magazine, and it was black and white, and all of the art was just shot from uh, Gene Colan's pencils, uninked pencils, and very, very cool. And when they collected it all into an issue, like a standalone comic, I think they colored it,
Mm.
but it still looks good, just not the same.
Time to add that to my ever growing list of 75 comics I still have yet to read. We now have the last pre crisis stories for Batman and Wonder Woman and DC Finest. Hopefully, we get to the Superman one soon with whatever happened to the Man of Tomorrow.
Yeah, I have read that story, that Alan Moore story. That was a good one. But yeah, that would be great to keep that getting that
Yeah.
one. I would like to know a little bit more about Black Mask and the history. Yeah, Nocturne's history with Robin. It's all
This
very interesting and intriguing to me.
it is. I like seeing Jason Todd trying to figure out who is man, I don't want to. Yeah, who his mommy is in this book. Harlan Ellison rules, but he's known more for great short stories than novels.
Right, true.
Yeah, sign me up for pre-crisis Superman. Everybody wants pre-crisis Superman. This is in return to the Catwoman conversation from cheesy to cheesecake. You said it, not me, or I guess I did technically say it.
No, it's true.
Yeah. Uh, are they not the same?
No,
um,
they're definitely not the same thing.
no, no. Catwoman. Catwoman's pre-crisis outfit is very dangerous for acrobatics with all of the flowing fabric.
Yeah, same with Batman's though. Batman's cape touches the ground. He could trip over it very easily.
It's very large, but I suppose if you need to glide over the night, that is what you do need to do with it. Um, on the Catwoman outfit question, as Vicky Vale said, I love purple. Purple's a good color. I do like.
Yeah.
I do like. I think Selena fits best in black or purple, but again, I think that's just my opinion. Catwoman has more flowing fabric than just a cape. See The Incredibles. I
Yeah.
Man, I rewatched that movie twice with my younger brother a couple of weeks ago. I don't. I think it was because we wanted to watch something before Fantastic Four. Um, anyways, yeah, that movie brings back memories. And before you know it, your cape gets caught in a revolving door and you get shot point blank. That's also true. It's big. Oliver calling him Bat That with such a mood. That's true. That was in the book. I could not believe that DC allowed Mensch to print through that. Kind of depends if you count Superboy, Superman Family, Supergirl as Superman books. Okay, so if we add that, yeah, Superman would technically have a six. Well, I guess it counts, but it's Superman Family, not Superman. That's the problem.
Then Batman would also count Batgirl
Mm-hmm.
and Harley Quinn
Mm-hmm.
and the upcoming Robin book.
Yep. So that would be nine for Batman. Batman just keeps winning no matter
Oh, and
what.
Catwoman too.
Yeah, two
Two,
Catwoman, so that's
two cat.
11. That's over 10 books that we have for Batman if that is the case. Batman is DC's X-Men. What's your take on this, Kurtis?
I'm not exactly sure the correlate. Oh, just in terms of popularity.
For
Yeah.
popularity.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, yeah.
yeah.
For sure.
I
Yep.
can agree with that. But yes, I think not to speed through, but yeah, this would be my pick of the month if I had if I had to shoot between these three. Pick up Batman. You guys already know that you will like it or enjoy some, if not most of it. And I do believe that is going to be worthwhile not only for you but also your collection. And one other book that I also think was very worthwhile is something that I didn't end up enjoying just as much. I know that I was going to be excited for it when it got released. It came out because I had never read any of these stories before, and that is the DC Finest Horror: The Devil's Doorway by a bajillion different creators and a bajillion different stories collected in this 560-page volume, which collects House of Mystery 180 to 185, The Witching Hour 3 through 7, The Unexpected 113 to 117, and a story from The Phantom Stranger issue number 5. All comics published from a short 1 year time span in between May 1969 and April 1970. And you want to talk about all of the different creators in here. I mean, you've got Wally Wood, Kurt Swan, Sergio Aragones, who does some of the cutest long length panel stories that I think are in this book with the Game Rune of Kane, and also Gil Kane, Dick Dillon, Mike Sikowski, Bernie Wrightson, Neil Adams draws a story in here. It is a bunch of stories all popped in here as well. So you are getting a different taste and flavor for some of these stories, which might be 2 pages long to 8 pages long. And I want to point out that this book, again, I've never read it, but the thing that I've noticed about it is that it's split up again into these 4 separate titles. You have House of Secrets, which is a book narrated and owned by Abel from, yes, the biblical Abel. You have House of Mystery, which is owned by Kane, and Kane also finds his way into some of the other horror titles as well. And
Also
they
from
have
the Bible.
also from the Bible, yes, indeed. And they also have, at least for those two specifically, you have intros and outros. Sometimes you have like short stories or for them explaining like, hey, welcome to the House of Secrets or welcome to the House of Mystery, and it has something to do, maybe not something to do with the story, but they get you to speed up with everything that is going on or will happen in the book. You also have The Witching Hour.
Hold on, just before you go,
Yes.
on to those next 2 titles, I really like the interplay between the 2 titles because Cain and Abel are brothers,
Mm-hmm.
and so they're constantly trying to one up each other with their storytelling,
Mm-hmm.
and so they'll pop up in each other's books and try to egg each other on to tell better, more interesting, more mysterious, more scary stories, and I like that. I think that's great, and I think these books were published. They're both bi-monthly, right?
Mm-hmm.
I think because like House of Secrets 83 is December, January, and then House of Mystery is January, February, and then House of Secrets is February, March. So, oh no, yeah, so they're bi-monthly. So like every month the slot would alternate House of Secrets, House of Mystery, House of Secrets, House of Mystery. So it's kind of like one title, but they were technically 2 titles, I guess, for shipping and purposes or whatever, publishing
Yes,
purposes.
indeed. So we do have that distinction. I do I do legitimately like it when they do cross over in, their respective titles. Be like, hey man, like this is, my book's cooler, or my book's a tad bit better than yours. And there's always that notion of we're going to be better than the last issue. And they hype themselves up really well. I can't disagree with the I guess the infighting between those two. It will also have the Witching Hour, which also, just like House of Secrets and House of Mystery, we are introduced to these 3 different witches. If my head is correct, I think it's Cynthia, Mildred, and Mordred, that give us sort of an introduction for their book and how you are going to expect to, I guess, withhold and handle yourself in terms of, like, This is what the stories are going to be in like this, and they're all illustrated as well by Alex Toth. I think that's how you pronounce his name.
That's right.
And the line work of his and the way that his anatomy is structured, I found to be incredibly well as well. So you do have the Witching Hour, which has those types of stories, mostly with weird magic, and then you have the Unexpected, which doesn't really have the same sort of like introduction and panel leaving outro as those other three stories do. But just like the title says, I think it out of those four, those unexpected issues have some of the more unpredictable, like you don't know exactly what to expect. Whereas, House of Mystery, House of Secrets, I think you like from the title, I think there is a decent expectation of what you should expect in those books, no pun intended. So you have those four issues as well. And while yes, there might not be a bajillion stories in this book, there are plenty of different types of stories in this as well. You have some ranging from horror, sorcery, and swords. Some of those stories I actually enjoyed a lot more now because, believe it or not, Kurtis, I have started reading Conan over the last couple of weeks, and I have found
Oh
myself not,
yeah.
yeah, I'm not only just enjoying John Buscema's Conan, but some of those stories where yes, it looks like a guy who looks like Conan, I found those to be very, very entertaining as well. You have some stories where it's a secret ghost, and they're trying to and not only that, like you also have the like some of the like you have a lot of text stories, not a lot, but you have ones that pop up here and there in terms of just regular prose. I think one of my favorite ones ended up being the what to do with ghost story, where it's, hey, this is how you stop ghosts, and it tells you all of these things that tell you how to stop ghosts. And there's a nice twist at the end, like they all do. But in terms of, I think the range of what to expect in this book, from break-ins, you've got some mystery work, detective work, some stories that are just flat out. You sympathize with people because somebody say like passes away unexpectedly, and some person has to step in, figure out what happened. Sometimes the stories have a great ending. Sometimes the stories have a not so great ending. But there really is, like just like the Batman one, I feel like there is something for everybody in this specific DC Finest. But what say you?
So this book is great, and I love these short horror stories. I love the EC comics and like creepy eerie magazine, and those ones where you just have a short concept that is just like 6 pages,
Mm-hmm.
usually about the human condition and the corruption of mankind and all that
Mm-hmm.
kind of stuff. And there's a twist at the end always, and then these ones do it just like that. And um I because there's four titles in here, uh, they actually fit really well together. There's not a whole lot of difference in the types of stories that they tell in between the pages of each. Um, I will say though that there is a couple of reoccurring characters in the unexpected. One of them is the Mad Mod Witch,
Mm-hmm.
who is kind of is she's not in every issue, but she is the one who does the intros or leading in
Mm-hmm.
kind of things. And then there's another character called Johnny Peril who appears in a few issues of The Unexpected. And there's nothing really special about Johnny Peril. They just kind of throw his name out there. He could be replaced with any character. Um, Alex Toth is one of my favorite artists. I think he's phenomenal. And I was happy to see that he's in this book. Unfortunately, while I did like the fact that he got to be in all of those issues, doing the lead-in stories in The Witching Hour, wasn't the best use of his talent. One of the best stories in this book, or my favorite, and maybe it's because it's Alex Toth, but I just think it's a really good story too, is the title story, The Devil's Doorway,
Mm-hmm.
which I thought just was fantastic. This young girl discovers a portal to hell
Mm-hmm.
in a through a mirror, and Alex Toth gets to draw that story, and it's really great. Just his sensibilities, his way of storytelling is fantastic. The other thing I want to point out is that I don't think we get a lot of color credits in here, but whoever's doing the coloring on all of these issues, I don't know if it's one person or if it's multiple people, but it's really good. And the use of color is very important in this book because um, when you have like at the beginning of the story, when things are happening in the real world, it's colored like a standard comic. And then as soon as it turns into the supernatural, they start playing with different ways of using color to evoke horror and stuff. And so some of these stories are just go into some wild places where you get extreme uh, color clashing colors in order to convey the type of thing that they want to do. And it happens all throughout this book. You pick any story, and it's going to have, as soon as the supernatural element comes in, they're going to start playing with the way that they present the characters. And I want to find that Devil's Doorway story because it has some really great work in it. Um, I should look up the page count. Oh yeah, here's a cool one. Just the way that this is not the Devil's Doorway, but just the way that all of the colors work together through this. It's just it's striking. This is something that Jim Steranko would play heavily with in his issues of like Captain America and
Hmm.
such, and Nick Fury, Agents of Shield. That was kind of his thing. Um, Dom, I don't need to be featured anymore,
I
but
know, but
yeah,
you had the
it's
quote.
yeah, just really, really great. So pay attention when you're reading through this to the colors in the book because they are really, really, really good. Um, the other thing that I want to mention is that the covers, DC always does great covers. I think they were better at covers than Marvel was at covers. And all of the covers in this collection are done by either Neil Adams
Hmm.
or Nick Cardy for the most part. There are a few there are a few exceptions to that. But um, they both of those artists were such ahead of their times in the comic book world, and the covers that they do are so good. They are mysterious. They are just a snapshot of a moment in time of usually children in a situation where either they don't know what they're getting themselves into, or they're on the cusp of realizing that they're in danger, and they're all fantastic. I love them.
It's I kind of am not mad at like just like the whole comics landscape just overall, but whenever like somebody talks to me about Neil Adams, it's usually with Green Lantern, Batman. You know, the main those main stories. No one had ever told me that he'd done covers for this line of titles over at DC. And looking through
Yeah.
them, I am mesmerized by the composition and the unique
Yes.
difference between that and you see his Batman and you're like, wait, this guy is like it's the same guy, and it's just so cool to see like his talents like full on display, even if he doesn't draw almost all of the issues in this book.
Yeah, he doesn't draw any of the stories in here, I don't think, or maybe there's one
It's one of
story
the
in here
last
of
ones he
his.
does, yeah.
Yeah. So, but yeah, his covers stand out because it's so they're striking because he's such a great just illustrator, not just comic artist, but illustrator in general. He was amazing. What a
Mhm.
great talent.
I completely agree. I think if I had to pick a couple of my favorite stories, the ones that oddly stuck out with me the most, there's one story, and it's not like through like any of the storytelling, it's just specifically with the paneling by, I believe the person's name, never heard of him before, is by Jerry Grandaniti or something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, and
Hmm.
it's just like the house is caving on this person. You go through different parts of the house, and they're all uniquely paneled. It's not, and that's one thing I just love about this book is like all you could tell like all the artists, because it's not just the same type of superhero story that they were doing. It feels like they had a lot more creative freedom on this book versus just your regular superhero title. So that just allowed a lot of these folks to be wild. Like there are a couple of stories where Abel is holding the panels, and I thought, man, for the '70s comic, that's pretty cool. Um, So kudos to that, and I love what Grandinetti has done for most of the book. But that one story with, I think it's in House of Secrets where the house is caving in. That has to be one of mine. I really like the Gil Kane story at the beginning, where it's the horror is him getting told by editors and writers like, "Hey,
Yeah,
go write this,
like it's
draw
actually him.
this." I love that.
That one is a great one. Yeah.
It reminded me a lot of Chip Zdarsky's one of his more recent books, Public Domain, where it's just like, yeah, everybody's like on a crunch time and a deadline, and Gil Kane's like, well, this is what it feels like to be on a crunch line and deadline. So like reading through that, I continue to have even more sympathy for a lot of the creators who are, putting their hands on the line for all of this amazing work. And there was one story where it was about this girl in Egypt who was incredibly seductive and also beautiful. But everybody that was near her kept dying, so she's turned herself into a sarcophagus. Somebody from the present then goes in and says, I need to buy the sarcophagus for myself because I want to experience who this true beauty is, even though he's engaged with somebody. And it doesn't end beautifully for him. And I just thought, man, I don't know if this is horror or if this is like a comedy mixed in with horror. But there are so many unique feelings that I had through this specific title, where sometimes I felt like, wow, that was oddly depressing and dark, or other times where I was like, I don't know. It's the 70s. It's crazy. And I thoroughly enjoyed everything in here for this book, and I think my overview on Very Fine should be out at some point this weekend. But yeah, this book, I will also say I am a big science fiction fan, but I think I enjoyed this specific volume more than science fiction.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Me too. I this one was way better than
Yeah.
science fiction.
So
Yep.
yeah, if you had a choice to pick between two, you only had like $40 or 55 and 54 in Canada, you spend out. I would pick horror in a heartbeat. It's not close. So that's where I lean at, and I think that those are mostly all of my thoughts. Yeah. We're real quick. I found out in through this specific trade paperback that fingerprint recognition started in ancient times in Babylon. And I fact
Right?
yeah,
Yeah.
and I fact checked it too, and it's apparently like 100% right. Like, and the people in the Abbasid Caliphate in the 1100s or something like that actually did run through scans for fingerprints, and I was like,
Wow.
that's so cool. I had never known that, but there's something in this for not only the curious thought of experience weird storytelling, but you get to learn something new in this book too because of this title. So yeah, co-signed with me. I mean, if Batman didn't exist, this would be my pick of the month.
Right.
So that's what I'm feeling, and let's go ahead and catch up with a chat. I skipped the mystery or House of Mystery issues because I'm getting the Omni reprint next month, but I did want to sample the other three titles, and the Witching Hour really deserves an Omni for me. Didn't Sergio Aragonis destroy DC? John Byrne claims that he did. 'Cause yeah, he did have a title called Sergio Aragonis Destroys the DC Universe. Based on interviews I've read with Gil Kane, that story where he's trapped by mediocre scripts should be considered autobio, not horror. Oh my gosh, that is crazy. Yeah. Toth is the master, and Toth steals the show whenever he shows up here. I was really impressed by Jerry Grandinetti and delighted to see Sergio Aragonis too. Yeah, I was super surprised
So
by Jerry. I had never even heard of him before reading through
yeah,
this DC Finest, and yeah, consider me a
I had
fan.
never heard of him before either. And I'll have some things to say about him in the next book.
Mhm. He will, yes, because he does do a little bit of the Spectre, the Wrath of Spectre. Yeah, the Adams and Hardy covers are something else. They would make awesome posters. Oh, they would. I I feel like I could hang up the poster of this or the main cover, which is a reference to issue number 84. I want to get it right. 84 of the House of Secrets. It's still really cool. Like, you got two young girls. They don't know what's going on, and you've got Abel sleeping and something through there. It's great. It's great foreshadow. It is really cool stuff. Neil Adams seems to have done a lot of covers at the time. There were a lot of them in Kryptonite Nevermore as well, though there's no interior art by him in there.
Yeah,
Yeah,
true.
yeah.
I
Somebody.
think he was. I mean, that was he's so good at the covers. So any editor would be able to like, yeah, I can sell a book if he does the cover.
Oh, yeah, and I think we have a couple of creators I think like that who are nowadays who are very much in the same camp as Neil Adams, and yeah, master at just doing everything.
Oh
Some
yeah, like nowadays you can make an entire career out of just being a cover artist.
I mean, Alex Ross does it.
Yep.
Still does it for Marvel. So we have quite a couple here everywhere. Completely unrelated to this, I just read through Transformers issue number 25, which is drawn by Dan Mora. I still have no idea how that guy does 3 books, 4 books a month, but here I am. Yeah, someone told me that all comedy is 10% horror and all horror is 10% comedy. I'm stealing that.
Okay.
That's not technically
Yeah.
a bad call at all. Are those the same Cain and Abel as in Game and Sandman? I do believe you are right on that, Karsten.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think so.
Um, Fingerprint recognition only restarted in the late 19th or 20th century in the West, I believe. So yeah, it's been around apparently for thousands of years, and I can't believe that I learned about the history of it in a comic book. Like that's the crazy part to me. It's not through the education system. It's not through any one of my college courses, but it's in a comic book. Um, Joseph Wolf, good morning to you. Missed most of the stream. We'll be rewatching later. Love the Right Skies book. Probably my favorite Batman DC finest yet. That's high praise.
We've still got one book to talk about, Joseph, so you haven't missed everything.
Yes, indeed. And then we have, J. Scott Campbell is the new Neil Adams. And I do believe he has a Kickstarter up and running for his artist edition of Danger Girl or something.
That's right, yeah.
Yeah, so.
Yeah, so like J. Scott Campbell, Art Germ, David Nakayama, there's so many artists out now that are just cover
Yep.
artists and don't do interiors at all. Russell Dodderman is another one who's moved to just doing
Mhm.
covers. Yeah, so and they're good.
Yeah. I have an Art Germ cover here for Absolute Wonder Woman issue number 1. And the only reason
Oh,
I got it.
foil.
Yeah. It's also signed by Kelly Thompson. It's a unique texture on her tattoo as well. So
Cool.
have to commend over to that. Now, Kurtis, if I may, give me 2 minutes. I'm going to rush to Labanya. I will be right back. Please entertain the guests.
Okay. Well, he's left me, and he's left me with no ability to highlight comments or anything, so we're just gonna have to talk. What one of the comments that just came in, it says, I just hope we also hear Curtis's thoughts on Hawkman from last month. Now, I got Hawkman late, which means I wasn't able to read it last month. And I still haven't really been able to read it this month because it takes so long to get through these 650-page books that and all 3 of these books were over 650 pages, I believe. And so I had to take or maybe not. All of them were just about 600 pages, but still, that takes a long time. And so this week, because I'm now finished reading all of the books for September, this week I get to plow through Hawkman, which I've only read maybe the first 150 pages or so, maybe 200 pages. So I will get to go into that one. And but my initial thoughts on just the first portion of Hawkman is that it's not my favorite, unfortunately. I was surprised that I didn't like it as much as I thought I would. I thought that it suffers too much from being told, not shown. And the reason is Hawkman is a police detective. And so a lot of these early issues in this book here are him doing detective work and solving mysteries, but too much of it is just him with his expository text of telling us what he's just walking us through the process and showing it to us, which, this is a comic book, so let's see him doing this. So I got a little on the bored side, actually, reading some of these early issues. But I'm hoping that it'll turn around later on in the book. Can you still hear me?
I can still hear you, and I'm
Um,
still listening to Hawkman.
okay. Okay, yeah. So I'm hoping that the next half of, and we'll see as I read through it this week as I'm waiting for Static to arrive.
I cannot wait for Static to come in. And of course, that is in the next month of Slater books. But one that I was excited for, not only with I know it's nothing compared to Static, but one that I was just intrigued by with the premise and also a recommendation by our good friend Jess Bragg, is the DC Finest, The Spectre, The Wrath of the Spectre, with a lot of stories also done and written by Gardner Fox. Gardner Fox is everywhere. I gotta say, like, I have no idea how many words that man put on a typewriter, but it has to be in the trillions, with how many books that we've had with him. But this volume specifically collects a large number of tales from a 17-year span from 1966 to 1983, collecting showcase issues 60 to 61 along with 64, the Brave and the Bold issues 72, 75, 116, 180, and 119, the Spectre issues 1 through 10, Adventure Comics 431 through 440, Ghost 97 through 99, which I think I have the most say on, specifically with those, and then All-Star Squadron, reprinted for the first time ever anywhere, in issues 27 through 28. Of course, this is the reintroduction of the Spectre, aka, or Jim Corrigan, aka the Spectre, in the Silver Age, with plenty of team ups and team ups against, as he is a completely, I think, flexible character. You need him to do whatever you need him to do, from his large power sets through just everything else. You need him to be a villain, he's there. You need him to team up with Batman, he's there. He is there in a pinch with every single one of these stories. But Kurtis, I know that we had mentioned Jerry Granadetti earlier, who does a handful of these issues in here. What do you think specifically about this DC Finest? Did you enjoy it? Did you not enjoy it as much? What were your thoughts?
I enjoyed most of this. And you brought up Gardner Fox. I've come to the realization that I just don't like Gardner Fox. I just, every time that there's a story and I'm like, this is not for me. Who wrote this? Oh, it's Gardner Fox. So the first several issues in this book, I didn't care for at all. So the Spectre is a weird guy because I think nobody really is consistent with how to use his powers.
Mm-hmm.
That's what it seems, at least. And we read his adventures in the Justice Society books from the 1940s, and we've also seen the Spectre show up in the Justice League book when the Crisis Between Two Earths volume that we read earlier in the year or last year. And both of those appearances, the character is extremely different. And then through this book, there are three distinct eras. There's the 60s, there's the 70s, and there's the 80s. And the Spectre is portrayed very differently in all three of those eras in this book. In the 1960s, we get the Brave and the Bold issues, and we have his own series, which is Spectre Volume 2. Now, my friend Phil Owen says this was actually the very first Spectre series, so he doesn't know why it's called Volume 2. Maybe someone in the chat can tell us. I'm not too sure about that. But these are the stories that are written by Gardner Fox, and I didn't really care for a lot of this stuff here. Using so the Spectre, he's supposed to be. It says so on the back cover here. When police officer Jim Corrigan was murdered, he was denied entry into the afterlife to acclaim his eternal reward. Instead, he was given the opportunity to return to Earth with a divine mission to destroy all evil as the vessel of God's wrath. So, that sort of sets the stage for these early issues. Jim Corrigan is a vessel. The spirit lives, the Spectre lives within Jim Corrigan and comes out as a separate entity. So there's two entities, Jim Corrigan and the Spectre, and they talk to each other. And then the Spectre goes off and does his thing, and Jim Corrigan goes off and does his thing, and then they come back to group at the end or whatever, something like that. That's kind of what happens in those early issues. And then what happens with the Spectre is usually he'll go off to like another dimension or outer space or whatever and battle these concepts on an existential plane of reality. And it's like, I just don't care about this very much. So this is not for me. And then in the middle of the series, of the Spectre series, things start to change. And well, first of all, once we get to the series, we find out that things are. Sorry, hold on a second. Let me get my train of thought here. Yes, so throughout the series, the Spectre and Jim Corrigan are working together. So there's one point where there's this villain who's in two different places, and the Spectre and Jim have to punch the bad guy at exactly the same time. So they're communicating telepathically. It's like, okay, get ready to punch him. We're gonna punch him. So they're not the same person. They just share the same body, I guess, or something. But at the very end of that series, uh, Jim is and the Spectre are separated from each other, and then the Spectre goes on this new mission where he just has to like usher in the deaths of these bad guys, and the stories are no longer taking place like in other realities or whatever. It's now confined to the city, crime-ridden city, and he's taken out bank robbers and he's taken out the mob and that kind of stuff. And that's when I think it gets really good. I loved those stories. They packed like four short stories into one issue. Issues 9 and 10 each had four stories, and it played very much like the DC horror book, where it's just short stuff. There's a little twist at the end involving the Spectre. In fact, the Spectre doesn't even really show up until the very last scene of all those stories, and I thought those were excellent, really great. And then in the 1970s, he's the feature he's like the headlining character for Adventure Comics, which was an anthology book. It had a few different characters in each issue, but he got the covers, he got the lead, and those issues are the best issues in this book, I think. I loved them so much. I thought they were really, really great. And in that one, Jim Corrigan is the Spectre. They're not two separate entities. They are the same
Mm-hmm.
being. So Jim turns like Spectre is his alter ego. And so there are times when like a car is going to hit Jim and Jim goes intangible and the car goes right through him. And like there's this reoccurring girl through this thing who falls in love with Jim, and he's like, I'm the Spectre. I can't be in a relationship with you because I'm dead. And so like they really play there, and that's the concept I think that really intrigues me, and the way they play it, because now Jim is actually the one who is enacting the vengeance on evil and all that kind of stuff. So I thought that was really, really
Mm-hmm.
great.
And it's
I
also hard
loved
to
those stories.
yeah. I
Yeah,
agree.
go ahead.
it- I was just want to say real quick, it's really also really hard to pass up on those issues too, because they were all illustrated by Jim Aparo, who just does absolute
Oh man,
great work on the like. It just
yeah.
makes the adventures feel so full, and you like it's awesome stuff.
Yeah. Yeah, so absolutely, his artwork is so good in these issues, and he's very much in the same vein as Neil Adams, and in that he is an illustrator, and he really knows how to do dynamic compositions and And so like you go through this book, and Murphy Anderson does the first few issues, and he's no slouch. Like he's a great illustrator. Um, but then um, you get to like Jose Delbo does one issue in here is absolutely fantastic, and then um, Neil Adams himself does a couple of issues in the Spectre series, and they're really good. And Jerry Grandinetti does a few issues here as well, and it's like the artwork just keeps on getting better and better as you go further and further into this book. And once you get past the Jim Aparo issues, then I think it takes a little bit of a step back. Um, but there's still some really, really good stuff in there. But what I wanted to mention about Grandinetti is let me see if I can find it in here. I have to use the table of contents because he does some really great. Let's see, the Parchment of Power Perilous, page 294. Let me get back here. Sorry about that. Oh yeah, and he does the money. So the one Gardner Fox story that I did like in here is the one where this guy can't let go of his money. He becomes a ghost and it gets connected with it. But the next story here is Jerry Grandinetti, and his panel layouts are just remarkable. He sticks to the single tiers, but each one of these tiers, all of the panels blend into each other and overlap. And so you're getting this kind of stream of consciousness, it feels like kind of a storytelling. And then, like I was saying with the colors of the horror book, the same thing's happening here, where as soon as we get to supernatural stuff, they were using some really off-kilter color choices to really drive home the fact that we're doing something weird here. This story's going into some weird territory, and uh, really great. I've never heard of this guy before, but he is too good to fall into obscurity. So people really go and check out Grandinetti because he is quite excellent, quite excellent.
Completely agreed on that front. And you mentioned like all of the different stories that we get because it's a 17-year period, and we're getting with different different characterizations, different ways of fleshing out whatever people at that time are thinking of the Spectre. I will hard agree that I think the reason to why, and I hate pitting this on one person, but I do think like part of the reason to why people don't talk about Silver Age DC as much is because a lot of it is covered by Gardner Fox. And I just think by this time he feels cooked. Like it feel like like the ideas in Grand are fine. If you're reading a 1940s JSA comic, yeah, 26 years out, I just don't know if I feel the same thing here throughout. But I want to mention the last two stories or last couple of series that are collected in here, which is Ghosts 97 to 99, and then the 2 issues of All-Star Squadron that we do get. The reason to why Ghosts, I guess, resonated with me very much in the same way that I think Adventure Comics did for you is I read a book years ago that was recommended to me by my comic shop, one of the people in my comic shop. It was called Dr. 13. It was published during the time when DC was doing their 1 year later initiative. So it was right in the midst of 52. And 52 is a sprawling series right after Infinite Crisis that sort of pieces the gaps in the year that happens after Infinite Crisis. DC published a book called Dr. 13 where we get introduced to this odd paranormal doctor who doesn't believe in the supernatural. He just doesn't believe in... It's weird too because, the DC universe, obviously, like, gods roam amongst men. But you have this one person who just does not believe that they exist. And that same thing pops up in those Ghost issues. So you think somebody who is very much occult-like, that like the Spectre, comes in, and this one person just says, yeah, why this person doesn't exist? Like, why would he have a reason to believe that? And it just very much picks up in the same sort of tone and way that the Dr. 13 book that was written by Azzarello in the mid-2000s and drawn by Cliff Chiang, I believe, too, hit for me. And that's why it stands out, at least in my book. You also get a couple of guest appearances in it, too, because, of course, why not? And I really, really enjoyed that. I just like seeing people just refusing to believe stuff, even when there is ample reason to, and he has his own reasons. And I just like those two ideas clashing together. And then the All Star Squadron, just
Yeah.
in the
Yeah.
case of just the case of the JSA popping up. I always love it when the characters like Atom Smasher and Liberty Bell and whatnot, and Doctor Fate having to save a friend from radiation. And somewhere at the end, we have this version of Spectre who is very much the antagonist of that part. So getting them to see how they, getting to see how the All Star Squadron stacks up with and against the Spectre. In terms of that, I thought was also incredibly fun, even if a bit wordy for the time. I still very much enjoyed it. But yeah, I think I will agree with you. For the most part, this book is banging awesome, and I can't disavow at least most of it. Oh yeah, I am beginning to realize that I do think part of the reason to why people say the Silver Age ain't great is because Gardner Fox I think had his hand in at least half of the books, and a lot of them just aren't the most compelling in terms of narrative.
Yeah, but that's a small portion of this book, and it is it's still worth getting for sure. This book has so much good stuff going for it, and it's wonderful. The other thing that really surprised me is how incredibly violent it is.
Yeah.
There's like
Mutilation.
because the Spectre actually kills kills people like all the time, and they're very creative deaths. A lot of them are super gruesome, and like I was quite surprised. It goes way more into the horror kind of gore horror stories than the horror book went, and yeah, it was kind of neat to see. And while this poses some problems with characters like Batman, because Batman doesn't kill because he wants his characters to go through due process. The Spectre's not like that at all. He's like, due process, what is that? Just kill them.
It's Judgment Day whenever the Spectre shows up. Always.
Yep.
But you do get to see. I would not give it to anybody under 13. I think that is a for sure for me. Because I mean, there's a lot of cool stuff in the book too, like the way that some of the artists do, like their text boxes, like the lettering is out of the texts. We have Spectre saying something, and it's just next to his head. I thought, like stuff like that is pretty cool. And yeah, I can't in due consciousness think again, I have no idea what to expect out of these stories because we've just had. I mean, I've run through different Spectres in my life. Like we got, Hal Jordan obviously being the Spectre is a big part of the 2000s. It feels like everybody wants the mantle of the one who will judge at the end of the day. But yeah, if the psychedelic and the odd supernatural is something that you like, I think this book is perfect for those types of people who want to get into it.
Yep, definitely.
I think that wraps up most of our thoughts on on this very odd and interesting book that DC has assembled. That I mean, this is the way that I'm reading it, and I'm happy to have it in this format because again, All Star Squadron is not collected in the omnibus, but of course, I will. This is not my reason. I will let you guys decide that. Yeah, Ignatius Klepto did indeed hear from Kurtis and his thoughts on a Hawkman, or at least the 150-ish pages that he has read of expositionary detective work drawn by Murphy Anderson. Yeah, like lots of Silver Age. Would have loved to pick up all 3 finest volumes this month, but I had to pick 2, hoping to catch up the Spectre at a later date. Yeah, Gardner Fox's hard work. Also, comics improves when John Broome takes over, which is
John Broome is great. Love John Broome.
I do like John Broome.
World of difference between those two.
Yeah, who would I compare Gardner Fox to today? There has to be some mid-writer that I just don't care for. That they're not going to do an offensive job, but the book's not going to do much for me. I love Bronze Age story. I know Bronze Age stories where the Spectre has Trigon level powers, and there was one where a Chinese sorcerer ended up being more powerful than him when he had assembled his wand.
His powers, the spectrum of his powers definitely changes depending on the story. Like sometimes he can take out the biggest being in the the whatever the multiverse, and then other times it's like a magician will harm him by throwing a rabbit at him or whatever.
Oh, for sure. It's yeah, like I said, the stories vary in terms of scalability, and so I said it's just he's flexible because sometimes you need to force him into those odd spots. Silver Age mostly isn't for me, and Bronze Age only partially, but I am looking forward to the Spectre by Ostrander and Mandrake Omni. I believe that is coming out next month too. We are close to there. I hope that they eventually get all of that in DC Finest as well. I think it would be nice to have that on pocket. Um, this includes the material that led to a lawsuit with Comics Journal, right?
Oh, really?
I'd love to hear more about that, James. I'm not too familiar with that, unfortunately. Yeah, Chroma Ghost says they're also looking forward to the Ostrander Mandrake run. Are you watching Peacemaker?
Oh, hold on a sec. Sorry.
Go ahead.
It's my mistake.
All good. Has anybody? I have yet to watch Peacemaker season 2, episode 1, but are you watching Peacemaker, Kurtis?
Well, I was trying to look up what he said there's major spoilers. I don't care about Peacemaker at all, but I wanted to see what was going on there.
Oh,
An
I
ad
see.
popped up.
All right, there you go. Jerry Grandinetti did a lot of work on Will Eisner's The Spirit, which I still have yet to.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay. I'll have to check that out. That's great. Yeah. Spirit is amazing.
I have the Red Skies. We'll be picking up these other two for sure. Also have the pre-ordered the Ostrander Spectre Omni, so I will have a good Spectre part of my shelf. Uh, in my opinion, the strict comics code was the main problem in the Silver Age.
Yeah, I think different publishers handle it differently, and I think DC definitely tried to go a lot more all ages, it seemed, than
Mm,
other comic companies.
definitely
That's
does
why a
feel
lot of their characters are goofy or funny, and they had ridiculous situations with Batman and Superman and that kind of thing. They went in a very different direction.
definitely does feel like that for sure. If I may, believe the next question. Yeah, Taros, the boy wonder. Hi, any word on the finest or DC finest Batman Blind Justice content updates? Believe I did that on Very Fine. Let me see if I can pull up the death. You can also check it out. I hate bringing my website up, but I do have all of the contents for DC finest on the upcoming spot. And if I could just pull that up, Batman. Blind Justice collects Batman 430 and 435 along with annual issue number 13, Detective Comics 596 to 603, and two stories from Secret Origins, issue 36, which is Pavane, Poison Ivy, and issue number 39, The Secret Origin of the Man-Bat. Hopefully that answered your question, Taurus. Let's see. Yeah, I guess I still need to get to Peacemaker season 2. Somebody. Okay, I need to avoid it. Thank you. Do you think they'll collect the other milestone characters in DC Finest? I think it would just. Yeah,
Uh,
go ahead. I'll let you answer
that,
this.
well, Static is definitely the standout, the breakthrough character, right?
Mm-hmm.
Um, when they were doing the compendiums, they opted to just fold everything into one line. That tells me that they don't think that they really have the ability to on their own as separate titles. So I don't know that we'd ever get more DC Finest for milestone characters separately. However, we could get DC Finest Milestone, which would just be, the compendiums chopped up into DC
Mm-hmm.
Finest size chunks.
Yeah, I could definitely see that. But yeah, I think that Static, unfortunately, is the only one of those that has lasting power outside, like as a standalone. Not trying to diminish anybody, the amazing work that they're doing over there, like they have done with the Milestone Return series. But it's a shame because like we just haven't seen a lot of those stories come back with the Icon and Hardware and whatnot. We've only gotten a couple issues, series out of them. Um, but I doubt that they do a DC Finest Hardware. I mean, never say never, but I think that there's more clamor for other stuff to be collected at the moment, unfortunately, than the other milestone characters. I think is the way I want to put
Plus,
it.
we just got those compendiums,
Yep.
so it's
Mm-hmm.
like how much
Mm-hmm.
will the market support multiple versions of like multiple editions of Milestone?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and Static makes the most like the biggest sense for me because he got his TV show. People know him, like people I know who are my age know Static. I can't say those same people know Icon, know Hardware, etc. James Abel, yeah, Todd McFarlane is another one of those cover only people nowadays because he still only does Spawn covers. Um,
No, I think that's a reference to a mid writer.
oh, mid, yes. Well, I don't know, man. I have tried to read some Todd McFarlane books, and man, I've written anyways. Not for me. No.
The difference there is that Todd didn't really write a whole lot,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
whereas Gardner Fox was incredibly prolific.
Yes. Oh, here's a take from Ultra Mega Nicola. Okay, Gardner Fox equals Brian Michael
Mm.
Bendis.
I don't know that I agree with that at all. I actually happen to like Bendis a lot,
Yeah, Bendis. I mean,
but
yeah, Gardner Fox
I
could
can
never
see
go.
I can see the comparison though. There's a prolific writer for sure, and
Mm-hmm.
if you're not on board with his style of writing, then you would
Yeah,
he would be a Gardner Fox. Yeah,
yeah.
I get it.
There will certainly be a DC Finest All Star Squadron. That series was around for a long time. There were even Crisis on Infinite Earths tie-ins of that series in the 80s as well, which are going to be in one of the event books that hopefully will come out in the upcoming years. Um, I'm now thinking of it, and I think that a JSA DC Finest would have Infinity Inc. and All Star Squadron intertwined for the 80s, just because I think that it makes sense for those specific characters in that specific amount of time.
Oh, hey, tell me, why are those two titles always mentioned in the same breath?
They came around at the same time. A lot of the same characters. They cross over a bit. We even have like some, the references in. I think it's the first issue, issue 27, where they're like, "Hey, do you remember when we fought those Infinity Inc. version characters of ourselves?"
Yeah, I did see that reference, and then the caption was like Infinity Inc.'s
Mm-hmm.
getting their own title in a couple of
Mm-hmm.
months, and but I just didn't know why those two are so closely related that
Mm-hmm.
everybody talks about the two of them needing their own
Mm-hmm.
reprints always at the same time.
Yeah, they were the JSA of the 80s at that specific point in time.
Okay.
Um, let's see. Yeah, best Gardner Fox might be Silver Age Adam Strange, which I've not had a chance to
Okay.
read yet. But I will hold you
Neither
to
have I.
that clip, though. Michael Fleischer sued the Journal and Harlan Ellison for libel,
Bible.
because of an interview where Ellison praised the Spectre comics by saying they seemed like the world of a lunatic, to put it mildly.
Well, I mean, that's what was part of the draw of
Mm-hmm.
those. That's funny that Harlan Ellison was praising the story, and Michael Fleischer took issue with that
Right, right, right.
about the violent adventure comic stories. Yeah, those are the ones that Michael Fleischer wrote for sure. But they're so good.
They are
They're
indeed.
so good.
Good evening, Munin. Hope you're doing well. Is it that time of the month already? Yeah, and unfortunately, we're about to be wrapping up in a couple minutes. Just want to say real quick goodbye. The last words on this. Yeah, it is indeed that time of month. Wouldn't it be great if everything DC came out eventually as Finest, Milestone, or otherwise? If they could collect everything in Finest, I mean, I would love it, but alas. I could see them doing a DC Finest Elseworlds now that I think about it, but they just had those complete collections. Now we're getting omnibuses, so I have no idea if they'll ever get around to it, but we shall see. Will Elongated Man get a DC Finest? He isn't as popular as Plastic Man. It would probably only be specific portions. I think the way that I would say, Chris Flood, if you want to read Elongated Man in DC Finest, we have the Justice League of America, most recent one that came out not too long ago.
Did he ever have his own title
Not to my knowledge.
or his own starring series? Yeah. I don't, probably not then.
Plastic Man had a couple of shorts here. Obviously, we had the early '40s stuff, um, but yeah, Elongated Man never got to that point of fame. But yeah, people will buy it, so I'm beholden to it. Yeah, Infinity Inc. is the second generation of JSA on Then Earth 2. So yeah, the JSA kids. Yes, indeed. Yeah,
Okay.
All Star Squadron and Infinity Inc. both had Crisis on Infinite Earth tie-ins, Earth 2 series at the time, though they were set in different decades. Um,
Ah, yeah.
and let's see. Is there enough comics to do it? Yeah, that's the question. But alas, we shall have to point out a couple of the um, DC finest books that are coming out in the next month. And the first one that we did mention earlier is the Static Playing with Fire, which collects the first 15 issues of Static, Superman, the Boy of Steel 36, Superboy issue number 7, and Worlds Collide issue number 1.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to this one. I only know Static from his cartoon show from a while back, Static Shock.
Yeah,
And so definitely I understand that this is kind of a special book from this new different imprint and stuff. So I'm eager to see what's being brought to the table
mm-hmm.
here.
Yeah, they have the milestone logo on the top right hand corner. You, of course, have John Paul Leon illustrating a good chunk of this. Of course, the late legendary Dwayne McDuffie being one of the main hands. Of course, not only that, but also Milestone. I am very excited for this as well. I have only watched the TV show and I've read a whole bunch of the modern comics, but I've never gotten a chance to head into the earlier stuff because I did not buy those Milestone compendiums, but we will finally be able to pick it up at that point. Let's see. If I may, the next book after that is the DC Finest Supergirl Body and Soul, which is the start of the Peter David run, which is, I think I can safely say, the most popular run ever of any version of Supergirl. This is going to collect Showcase 96, issue number 8, Supergirl 1 through 18, along with the first two annuals, and Supergirl Plus coming out on the 14th of October.
It's hard to say no to Peter David and Gary Frank together. Like that's a great combo. And let's see. I always remember when this book was first announced, and it had Supergirl holding a skateboard
Mm-hmm.
and with a like a plaid shirt, and like that was like here is the Supergirl for this new '90s grunge era. And I was like, oh, that's intriguing. Never cared to actually read it, so this will be the first time, of course, going through this one. And and I remember when the Kamala Khan Miss
Mm-hmm.
Marvel was first announced, the first issue of her series is an homage to that cover with the skateboard.
It was
So I was
indeed,
like,
yeah.
this is cool.
You got
Yeah.
generations combining and connecting between
Yeah.
this, and I think it is really cool to see this series not only be the one of the beacons of this era, but of course inspire other series that would eventually come down the line. And this is going to be probably the best jumping on point for Supergirl, even more so that I think than the Silver Age one. But we will talk about that next month when we get to it. Um, and then the last book of the month is hopefully an event that doesn't kill Kurtis's head, and that is part one of Crisis on Infinite Earths. And the contents are wrong, but I don't want to. There's a lot of this. This does collect the first four issues of Crisis, and then the first third of the tie-ins to the events. So, will we see Pariah and the Anti-Monitor waffle over the shakings of every single Earth into one? We shall have to see here.
It's also going to be one of four. I read there was an article that with the editor of the book series talking about
Mm.
this series in particular, and they are actually restoring all of the artwork for the main series from the original, from I think they said from the original negatives. Um, and so for the Absolute that's coming out, the Crisis on Infinite Earths Absolute Edition, and so this DC Finest will be using those updated files for this, which is very exciting. He said it's going to be 4 volumes, and there's going to be a lot of tie-ins. And I did not particularly enjoy all the tie-ins for Zero Hour because they're just random issues of these series that I have no idea what's going on. So we'll see how this one holds up
We'll
as
see.
well.
We'll see how it holds up. Unfortunately for my fantasy football team, and yes, it is. This is one of the commissioners in my football league. Good morning to you, and yeah, I hope you're doing well, my friend. Would you guys say that DC Finest has already surpassed the Epic Collections?
I guess I need some clarification on what you mean by surpassed. I mean, the Epic collections are nearly 500 books strong, so I don't think they've surpassed that quite yet. The amount and depth of the stuff that Epic collections has surpassed has already published is just incredible. It's an amazing accomplishment.
Mm-hmm.
Um, DC Finest has surpassed in the sense that they had their volumes have more pages for a lower price point. So like maybe value wise, they surpassed the Epic collections, but I don't think that I'm still I'm still a big fan of the Epics.
Yeah, the epics are really cool. There's, like Curtis said, there's 500 of them, hundreds. But DC is starting off. It's not a bad starting off either. I mean, we've already had almost, like, we had 10 months of it, and it'll be a while before it ever get. I don't think it'll ever surpass, but it's gonna be a nice comp, against, more. I like seeing competition like this. Um, Super pumped for Static. Made by the Static one. I will be doing an overview of it on very fine condition. Hope you're gonna have a good weekend as well, Matifer. Thank you for watching. Um, Supergirl by Peter David. Chris Flood should do. DC should do DC Finest Jimmy Olsen and Lois Lane. There already is one, and I want them to do more of it. Is the Superman family, uh, the Giant Turtle Man trade paperback.
Yeah, definitely check out Superman Family.
Indeed. Let's see. Yeah, Crisis with tie-ins. Can't wait. Can't wait for this. Tried reading COIE once and fell so lost. So I hope this goes well for me. I don't particularly think that any of the DC Crisis events are great jumping on points. But we'll
I
have to
hope it goes
see.
well for me too.
Yeah, indeed. Uh, let's see. In terms of quality, thoughtfulness, execution, of course, not in quantity.
In terms of quality, I think that Marvel does it better. Marvel has provided a better package. DC does things like they don't print on the inside covers and they don't provide any bonus features. So I think that in that sense, Marvel has them beat. And that's part of the thoughtfulness as well. Marvel does a great job with their mapping. I think that they're both Marvel and DC has done a really good job with the mapping of their books here. But I think Marvel set they set a path that no one else had done when they did it. So I think that I don't know. I just think that they are trailblazers.
Mm-hmm.
And in some areas, DC Finest has improved on that. In some areas, they have not. Execution. Um, Again, the way Marvel has been doing it with their announcements, leaking announcements to Omar and me has been really great. I think that the execution in the the titles, the way that they're doing it out of order and the way that they've made it line up with other omnibuses or other collections, focusing on some out of print material first. I think that has all been really great. That execution has been great. DC hasn't been doing out of print or uncollected stuff as much. They've been focusing a lot on the more popular areas. And with the exception of Batman Red Skies, of course, is a lot of unreleased material, I think. But I also think that it was not, I can't remember where it appeared before, but they've been kind of hopping over toward more of the more popular areas instead. So I still love Marvel Epic Collections and will be their number one supporter.
Indeed, he will be. And thank you guys so much for also supporting us through watching our streams, watching us talk about these DC finest. I want to thank everybody here who has taken time out of their lives for a couple minutes, an hour, or for the whole thing to watch us talk about comics. We love comics, and I'm really happy with these sets of 3 that we definitely had this month. And I still need to do overview videos on them for near mint, but I'll get around to them at some point. I want to thank Kurtis as well for joining me in this escapade of life every single last Friday of the month to talk about these books.
And thanks as always, Dom, for hosting this and putting all the work together. I love the new banner or new frame we have around here with the second wave of books that we are now officially in. I can't believe we've got to this point here. We're in the second wave now, and that is great.
Indeed. It's indicative of all the work that not only the people at DC are doing with the mapping, but also the work that every single creator put in these specific books, and the stories, the art, everything else. And we have to thank all of them, because if we didn't have that, we wouldn't be here. So thank you guys again for watching. We hope that you have a good one. Of course, you can check Kurtis out over at the Epic Marvel Podcast, where every single Monday he has the epic unboxing videos to
I've actually changed it to Tuesdays.
doing Tuesday
Every single Tuesday. That was just a recent development because Marvel's been sending me books, but they always seem to arrive on Mondays after my stream. So I figure I'll just wait for those packages to arrive and I'll switch it to Tuesdays. So Tuesday afternoon, 3:30 p.m. Pacific time, I do my own live streams there where I unbox whatever I've received in the mail in the past week.
You know what? That makes sense for me now, because I have classes Tuesday afternoons and nights, and I'm like, well, I didn't get a notification, the previous day that Kurtis is here. Obviously, I can't watch because I'm in class, but there you go. So Kurtis does his over on Tuesdays. Of course, you can join him and a lot of other epic people as well. Some of the smartest people that I know in the mapping business over with the specific Facebook groups. You could obviously join the DC Finest one. We've got amazing people doing some graphic design work, some thoughts, some epic discussions as well. I like to lurk because well, I don't have time for social media anymore, but they are cool people, and I would suggest joining. If you want to check out all of the upcoming DC Finest, you can check out the upcoming tab at comicreleases.com, where we do have all of the most up-to-date information on every single hardcover, omnibus, trade paperback out there. And along with that, you can join the Patron for just $2 a month. You not only help out server costs, but you also can help us out and help support the project and what we do. We also got the Discord if you want to talk to other folks as well. And that is it for both of us. Please like and subscribe if you haven't yet. Tell your folks every single last Friday of the month we talk about the DC Finest, and we hope to see you the next time. Please stay safe.